Hello, everyone. Andy Jacob here with the DotCom magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series. What a great show today. So many people have reached out to me and they're very interested in the in-home personal services space. In other words, what happens when you get older? What happens when you come out of the hospital? What type of available services are available to people where they can stay in their home and get the high quality service and professional approach that they both expect and deserve, and get that great service with a great dignified company. So, I went through my Rolodex and there was only one person to call, and his name is Mr. Michael Collura. And Michael is the president and CEO of In-Home Personal Services, IHPS.com. I tell you, he has an amazing company. He knows everything that there really needs to be known about how to help people in their home. What happens when people get older? What type of services are available? What types of services are available to people when they get out of the hospital and they need some in-home care? Well, Michael has built an amazing company. He has so many talented people on his staff. This company is going really nationwide due to the number of testimonials that they have, the number of incredible reviews. I mean, people love the service that IHPS is able to give their clients throughout the United States. It's remarkable. It's such a caring company, so many high quality service providers and in-home service providers they have on the staff. And it's remarkable what they've been able to do. Michael, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you for having me here. I really do appreciate it.
It's really great to have you on the show. What you're doing really resonates with so many people. I mean, you really work with clients and families to allow them to remain living independently in a very safe environment in their own home. But let's pull the lens back to 30,000 feet and tell us about In-Home Personal Services to begin the show.
Absolutely. In-Home Personal Services is one of those providers that can assist seniors from a non-medical component to continue to remain safe, independent, in the comfort of their own home. And a lot of what you said about the families and the personal journeys and what you and some of your viewers are dealing with is the reality for so many out there. And having to find that dependable quality care that you can trust, that can relieve the stress that is not only on our aging seniors population, but their family members as well too, becomes a very important and critical component of their lifestyle, both from an independent and an active position. And we are the company that can provide that.
Yeah, you make such a great point. It really is a stressful type of experience for the family members when their parents start to age. Maybe some dementia kicks in or some other types of ailments kick in. And you always want to make sure that you put the best possible people that you can into the home. So let's talk about that, because you've been providing high quality, super high quality home care services at affordable prices since 2004. And the reputation of your company is paramount. It is absolutely unbelievable. All of the testimonials on the website are top-notch. People love doing business with you. So where did that come from? Tell us how you started and why you saw this being a very big need in the community that you serve.
Certainly. At a young age, my very first job, I was 15 years old and I worked in a nursing home. My mother helped me get the job. She too was working in the same nursing home. And, on that very first shift, I saw for the first time an exposure to senior care. And I'm happy to say it made a very positive impact on me at a young age. And I later on discovered that this passion was something that, was more than just something I could enjoy doing for a living. Instead, I could use this passion and this energy to do something bigger and better. And an opportunity came along in 2004, and we decided, well, hey, let's do it bigger and better. And, this was about building a better brand, building a better customer service experience for our seniors, building a brand and a business model around service to others from the perspective of, quality care. And, that journey from a very young age has stuck with me. I'm much further along than 15 years old nowadays. And, we have learned a lot. We have achieved a lot. And as you mentioned, those testimonials that are out there from the families and the patients we have, I have boxes and boxes of those things, handwritten notes, thank you cards, emails, gifts. And we never published any of them until last year. And we made the decision to finally publish them because prior to that, it was too personal, we felt. And that was our measurement of success. That was our joy. And we kept it private. And looking back at what the pandemic and the start of the pandemic and all the fear was out there, we felt that we can do some good, and we can show that there is good out there, and that there is a safe and meaningful way to still provide for our most vulnerable. And we've been doing it for decades. And, that's why we started publishing those testimonials, and we started to get quite the response when we did so.
Yeah, it's really remarkable. Let's break it down a little bit, Michael. I've got you on the show. Let's break it down a little bit. How does it all work? What's the starting point? Let's say a family member has a parent or a family member that's older that needs some care. They start thinking about it, what the alternatives are. We want to make sure that they get the best care available. Maybe we want mom or dad to stay in the home as long as we possibly can keep them on the home. What does that sort of conversation look like with in-home personal services when they, on board with you at IHPS? What does that look like? And tell us sort of the process and how you're able to get such trustworthy and really wonderful people in the homes of the people that you serve.
Absolutely. And first and foremost, we have to understand oftentimes when the need for our level of care comes to the forefront of a family member or a decision that needs to be made, we're not really known, or our side of the industry is not understood very well. It is the progression of disease, new diagnosis, post-surgery, discharge, a need for respite care, injury, illness. And suddenly it's at the point where they're in front of a physician or they're looking to be discharged from a hospital, and they're told, and you need a caregiver. And the family and the seniors are like, a what? And where do we get one of those? And it opens up this whole new realm of what other options are out there. Now, there are a lot of options for senior care. There's no doubt about it. There's a lot of great providers out there. But ultimately, we find that most people want to stay where they are familiar, the comfort of their own home. And this isn't just because this is best for the healing process. But in some cases, such as dementia and Alzheimer's, you really don't want to remove somebody from a familiar environment. You want to keep them there because this is where they will be most comfortable, where their quality of life will thrive. So those initial conversations do involve a lot of emotions, and we see that, we understand that. There's stress, there's fear, there's anxiety, there's guilt, there's depression, resonating from the entire family because they want to be that primary care provider of their loved ones, but in some cases it's not practical. Or we understand if we truly do love someone, we sometimes have to step aside and let somebody else come in to be that care provider because we are professionally trained, we understand, we are supported by a staff that knows how to deliver this type of care properly. So those initial conversations are a lot of, a relief for our families, for our clients, understanding who and what we are and how we will go about doing this. Those conversations also include the question of, well, who's this caregiver coming into my home? And, we certainly go into an abundance of, the protocols and procedures we have, how we properly recruit, retain, screen, train, monitor, how leadership and quality assurance programs are in place. and what it takes to be a care provider here. Because here's one fact about our company that you don't always see everywhere and you would think would be natural. Every position within our organization, even the IT guy, the accounting team, the front desk receptionist, everybody in this company, and it's in writing in their job description, must possess a genuine desire to care for the elderly. Because we understand it's not just our frontliners who are out there hands-on delivering this care. It is the entire support team that is supporting them that also will make a positive impact in the lives of others. And that positive impact and that ability to deliver that level of care, as we have done since 2004, this is our greatest success. And this is what you are seeing and why we are talking, because there is so much attention around us as a brand and the recognition that we are getting. And in fact, just yesterday, I was speaking with another producer, and we're going to appear in yet another magazine, and I've actually run out of publicity photos. How does that happen? And it's really not because of me. It's because of the reputation of the care that we provide. And, the unquestionable and undeniable results of what we have done since 2004 is about as plain as day as the sky is blue today. And at least for me it is. I don't know what it's like where you're at, but this is our joy. This has been our mission. And I can sit here today very proud, very confident to say mission accomplished.
That is fantastic, Michael. We always talk on the series about corporate culture, and we always talk that it starts at the top. And when it comes to quality home care services, that business, your business, it really resonates to me that this corporate culture has to start really with the CEO, because every single person at IHPS, like you said, they have to have a real passion about helping the elderly. They have to really be committed to the mission of your company. And when you hire people on, I know that you really look for that as being the primary sort of reason why you would hire someone to come into your company, because you have such a great reputation. You want to keep on bringing quality people on all the time. And that says a lot about you as the CEO and a lot about your leadership team with what goes on underneath. Very, very important. Now, Michael, when we think about people leaving the hospital, because you mentioned that briefly, they go to the hospital for some unforeseen event or for an event that was foreseen that they had to go for, for a surgery or something like that. And then they're about to be let out of the hospital. And then there's this conversation that, hey, yeah, you're going to need some help at home, because the hospitals try and get those people out as quickly as they can because they need to move those beds along. So what's that look like for the person that's in the hospital? All of a sudden they're going home and they're told that they need to have some in-home care. So I would imagine that's a little bit shocking, but I know at your company, you're very good at helping those people transition back into their homes. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you. This is, as you said, there's a lot of scenarios that come into play here. The planned surgical procedure, hip replacement, or orthopedic surgeries, or the 911 fall. And now they're coming home and they're realizing because of a new medication or a new diagnosis or an advancement of an illness or a disease, or COVID, that now there is a need for them to have this caregiver person in place. And, they're often presented with a very generic description of what a caregiver needs to do. And the hospital certainly understands what quality and compassionate care is, but they don't always understand our side of the business and what it takes to deliver and achieve that. They can perform that orthopedic surgery in the hospital and bring about a positive medical practice, certainly, but then it's in our hands once they're discharged from the hospital. And that conversation, will often be met with a lot of very generalized information, and then the family is left to find that provider or that help. We do have a very solid reputation in all the markets we service across the country. And our brand is recognized by a lot of these medical professionals and providers. And we are often called upon directly to be that provider as well, too. Word of mouth has also helped us with that. But our ability to step in to an assessment situation on a new referral and a new individual that needs our care, we have a very strong track record. In fact, I have clinical liaisons here on staff. These are nurses that are part of our organization that have a 100 plus percent success rate in being able to transition somebody from the current care setting they're in back into a home setting. And I say it's over 100% because we've had situations where we've successfully managed this transition, and whether it's short or long-term care for that individual, they have come back, or their friends and family have come back to us. In fact, true story, we have a caregiver slotted for October. This is a planned surgical procedure on a younger adult. It is more cosmetic in nature than it is medical, but they will be staying near their surgeon for about a 90-day period on a respite in a high-end suite setting, like a hotel. And we actually have planned a caregiver to be present because this person is going to be more or less immobilized for at least a couple of weeks post-op. And, that's a situation where, again, our reputation, even beyond the senior community, came up, and this surgeon and his team had reached out to us and asked, can you provide this caregiver to come live in the suite that we have set aside for our patient? And we, and provide for her care kind of around the clock so that she can recover, because she does not want to go to an outpatient rehab center. And that is all due to the fact that this individual is a known celebrity. And, we're not allowed to discuss who it is. It'll be a Chicago-based surgeon, and we will quietly be providing care for this individual. And unfortunately, you'll never see a testimonial about that one. So we had to sign, non-disclosure agreements as to the location and the person's identity, and you get the idea. But the reputation, does exceed and expand beyond even what we have come to know and what we have come to understand it to be. So, from the early days, this was intended to be a good company, doing good, helping people. And today we have now become a growing national brand that is receiving recognition even across state lines. We received a call once from Australia a couple of years ago, and a family relocating from the U.S. to Australia basically needed a caregiver for their young son, who tragically was paralyzed from the neck down at the age of only 26. And unfortunately, that's a tragic scenario, but we were able to come in and step in. And here's a difference that we make, and I know I can talk for hours about this. This was a young man whose life was forever and dramatically, tragically changed. The depression that this young man was facing was rather significant. Long story short, he had a passion, a following for the Madden football video game. Well, our understanding of this information about his unique interests, I actually got a caregiver. I brought him into the office. I bought the video game system, and I said, you're going to be an expert in Madden footballs. So for the next few weeks, you sit here and play video games, because when you go meet this gentleman, this is how you will bond. And I found another caregiver who was a gamer, and sure enough, we partnered them together, and our client now had the headset able to engage in the video game, even though he was no longer able to operate the game controllers. And it was a return of a sense of quality of life that he did not envision he was ever going to have again. And he and the caregiver became very strong bond. And we spoke to the family about the lifelong care for their son with this caregiver. And it was just a true pleasure to be able to step in and deliver that quality of life and that literal happiness in life back to this family.
Wow, that is such a great story. And for the entrepreneurs watching the show, rewind really what Michael just said. I mean, that really is what I call a mini MBA event, because when you're in Harvard getting your MBA, there's case studies, and there's the professor and the students, and they get together and they they answer the questions, and they sort of figure out, the way in which the case study should evolve. And that's in a classroom setting. But entrepreneurs like Michael, we have to, and myself and the rest of the entrepreneurs in the world, we need to have our feet planted firmly on the floor and learn as we go. And that little story that Michael just told about the Madden, about how you bond with a client, that's really what it's all about, because in business, it's all about your client. It's all about going above and beyond for your client. And in Michael's case, and with the people at the in-home personal services, it's all about the client. Now, Michael, that's a great story. And I know that you have a number of people around the country that, at some point in time said to themselves, I've heard about this IHPS. I think I would be really good in this field. I have this sort of compassion and passion for people. I want to get involved in this business. And they've been able to reach out to you, and you've been able to put together a nice platform for people to get involved with this, who have this same passion that your core group has, to sort of be able to provide this great service to their community. So maybe you could talk about that just a little bit as well.
Absolutely. A great platform, a great business model has been built. And in truth, it had very little to do with me. There is a tremendous team of individuals here that are a part of this brand. Many of them have been here the scope of their career. We're talking, since 2004, 2005. My current administrator, Brianna Turner, who runs the agency today out here in Illinois, she started working with us when she was a 17-year-old high school kid, and today she's running the whole company. My chief operations officer, Ira Santiago, she's been with us since the early days as well, too. And she has had firsthand, performance in the development of the business model. And as a licensed occupational therapist herself, she understands the clinical side and the clinical needs of the patients in a way that others don't. And through countless other individuals through the years and here today in the building, that business model and the credit for what we've achieved goes to them. I'm the pretty face on camera right now, but I'm not the guy that is literally out there doing this for us any longer. It is them. And so I need to give them credit first and foremost, and all of our frontline caregivers that are out there and during this pandemic, and the job that they have done has been nothing short of amazing. And we are so proud of all of them. But that being said, yes, I speak to people every day, it seems like, and I've had conferences with, budding entrepreneurs all over the country, some international entrepreneurs, investors that have all wanted to be part of this industry, be part of our franchise system. And, it has been a really rewarding journey for me personally to see that there are a lot of like-minded individuals out there who want to be a part of this industry for the right reasons. And, the ability to connect with them and the ability to see them become part of our brand is just another amazing extension of who and what we are, because we know how many lives we've touched and the lives of those families. And every time we have another operator come on board, that just becomes exponential.
Yeah, it's really remarkable, the growth that you've had and the way in which you've been able to grow with compassion, grow in a way that keeps the original intent of the company as you've grown. Keep that original sort of, keep that original idea that you originally had with your mother back in the day when you were starting the company and looking for an opportunity. Maybe you could share that story about you and your mother and sort of how it all started, because I think that's kind of an interesting story for our viewers to hear about.
Absolutely. As I had mentioned, my mother was already working in the industry in the nursing home, the same nursing home where she helped me get my first job. And she too has spent a lifetime career within this industry. And a product of upbringing, a product of influence at a young age, a product of wanting to do something different with my life and with my career, all kind of set in motion that genesis moment that came up that said, we could probably do this a lot better than what's out there today. And, the idea and the concept of entering such a massive industry that was highly competitive, very, heavily regulated, and to say, we can do it too. And that journey and that risk of taking that initial journey and saying, we can incorporate a brand, but if we're going to do this, we're not going to do it like everybody else. And this is something that I was even adamant about early on. This will not become, your standard corporate environment. We will do things differently, and our focus on every detail must be on the well-being of those that we are trusted to care for. And fortunately, with my mother and with a lot of other good people, we were able to build and achieve that, and it has not stopped. Like I said, I can sit here for the next 20 hours and talk about the stories and the way we've impacted lives and the differences that we've made and what we have seen. And there's a lot of story there. I'm asked all the time, am I ever going to write a book? Maybe, because there's just so much to tell. There's a lot of good, I think, out there, and we have been blessed to be surrounded by so many good people. And, to see that moment of anxiety wash away from a family member to relief, and to see the fear from a senior leave to a moment of joy, there's really nothing more powerful than what we achieve. And early on, that is precisely what we wanted. And, I had $200 to my name when we started in 2004, when we decided to do this. And I exhausted $200 in office supplies in order to set up a company and get everything going. And it really took off from there.
Well, it's a wonderful story. It's going to lead me to my next question about entrepreneurship. And I know you've only sliced out a certain amount of time today, Michael, so thank you very much. And the story of building it and starting it, with this idea of providing this compassionate care, and then taking that idea, and as you've grown, being able to keep that same philosophy, that same approach to everything you and your team does with everyone that they help is really remarkable, and it's a beautiful story. Now let's talk a little bit about entrepreneurship. I'm very happy, of course, to have you on the show, and someone watching the show might be saying to themselves, Michael here, he's built this incredible company. He has so many wonderful people working on the team. It all gets led from the top, and the people throughout the country that sort of represent the IHPS brand are also remarkable people. And our hats off to them as well, because they've been able to take the torch and keep on handing it down in a powerful, beautiful way to the people that need the help that they provide. So it's amazing. So when we think about entrepreneurship, some entrepreneurs might be watching the show and they might be saying to themselves, I love what I'm hearing, but in my life, in my business, I'm hitting a roadblock. And I've got a stumbling block right here that I can't get through, and I'm kind of freaking out a little bit. I don't really know what to do right now with my business. So I'm hoping maybe, Michael, based on your experience, you can kind of talk to the entrepreneurs watching the show that are maybe hitting a stumbling block and giving them some encouragement and some words of wisdom about how to get through those stumbling blocks and come out the other side.
I don't know about wisdom. Experience, yes. But I don't know about wisdom. I never really set out in life to be an entrepreneur personally. I would say that I'm blessed to do it. Here are some things that I have learned along the way. When you find an obstacle or a roadblock, it's not the end of the road. For an entrepreneur, that's an opportunity. That's a challenge waiting to be solved. When your business hits a roadblock or your business is struggling in some fashion, That's when entrepreneurs create solutions. And this is why entrepreneurs are the driving force of the U.S. economy. We don't see a problem. We see an opportunity. And in our business and what we have done and what is making us such an impactful provider and such, a sought after franchise system today is because so many of those challenges that exist within our industry and with business in general, we have turned into unique opportunities and advantages for us. Some of the things that I've learned, and some of these lessons are learned the hard way, when you're a young entrepreneur and you're growing, failure. Everybody seems to think that failure is such a bad thing. Personally, I feel that entrepreneurs must fail. We have to fail. If you're not failing, you're never understanding what success is. And, the notion that, every successful business person in the world did it right from day one and never made a mistake, that's not the reality. The reality is we will fail, and it's not about, being perfect. It's about never giving up. And, you have to be realistic in that, to say that you're going to go out and never make mistakes, it's never going to happen. But to say you're going to go out and never quit, well, that you can control. And, we are a perseverant brand. And luckily today, because of everything we have learned specific in this industry and as entrepreneurs, this is why so many people have been coming to us over the past year, even in the pandemic. And I've had conversations with entrepreneurs all across different industries, where they've heard about us, they've heard about our story, and they've come to us and they've said, COVID, the pandemic, I'm struggling, I'm suffering, this is hurting me, what do I do? And, whether our advice was taken or not, we were able to share some of our own story with failure versus success and how to overcome that. So if you call that wisdom, so be it. But, the other thing I would say to any entrepreneur that is out there, surround yourself with people better than you. Surround yourself with people smarter than you. Because, the best part about being an entrepreneur is the opportunity to be a leader as well, too. And for me, leadership is about developing those around you to the point where they don't need you anymore and they can do it better than you. That's always been my goal. And that's why this company is thriving today, because, the leaders around me have developed themselves to a point where they can go out and do this without me. And, when individuals do ultimately leave our brand, while it is, sometimes a reflection of why you're losing good people, I look at it as a reflection of I had good people to lose because they were developed here, they were built here, and opportunities now are afforded to them that weren't there when they first joined our company. And, I see that as another measure of success of the leadership. So to entrepreneurs, build the people around you so that they don't need to rely on you. They don't need you, and they know they can do this without you. And that is how you build a successful brand, because all the top leadership in my company has been promoted from within. All of them have been here for a decade plus, and all of them have been integral into our brand success. In all honesty, more so than myself.
Wonderful. That is really remarkable. I think that's going to be probably the topic, or at least a chapter in your book that you're going to be writing, because that's really good stuff. And for the entrepreneurs, again, rewind what Michael just said. I mean, that is really a synopsis of what it takes to be a great entrepreneur. Don't give up. If you're not making mistakes and not having problems, you're not pushing hard enough. And Michael has really hit the nail on the head with regard to his team and the way in which he surrounded himself with such talented people, and he's moved them up from within, and they become part of his family, and they become part of the unique way in which in-home personal services approaches their customers, approaches their clients. And I know you've only cut out a certain amount of time today. I'm going to have you back on the show because I want to talk about the franchise part of the business, because that's so remarkable, and so many people are being are having so much success with this opportunity that you're providing to them. It's really not only changing the lives of the people that they're serving, but it's also changing their lives by becoming part of such a powerful franchise and a powerful group of people that care so much, not only for the end user, but for the people that get involved in the business opportunity as well. Michael, this has been absolutely awesome. I wanted to take a minute to thank you so much for coming on the .com Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series. I'm going to rewind this myself a couple times, because there's a few things I think I can learn from what you've given in terms of the advice to entrepreneurs as well. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It was a real pleasure. I'd love to be back. Thank you.